Good day everybody, thank you for joining me on the channel today, and in this technical analysis update we will be looking at Velo and whether it can continue to push to its 0.022 double bottom target. Nothing that I say is financial advice. Let's dive into the content. So just coming over to my X, on Friday before I disappeared, I tend to have breaks over the weekend from X and from YouTube. I did point out that Velo could be coming back to 0.018/7 before continuing the push to 0.022. So this was on Friday. Now, if you come back to the Friday before I left, I think this is where Velo put in that 0.02 high, and since then has come back to a key level of support. So really and truly, before I disappeared, what I was analyzing was the last time Velo had a bull cross on the 4-hour time frame. So we're a bit zoomed in at the moment, but we're in an uptrend, you know, and on the 4-hour there are a key few signals that we like to look for in this uptrend. So one is back here on the 9th of July, we had a bull cross on the 20 and 55 EMAs. Now, ever since this bull cross, you can see that Velo's been coming up, correcting back down towards this yellow line. It's 20 EMA. So it had this impulsive move after the bull cross. You can see it had this impulsive move. Let me get my brush on. We had this impulsive move up here. And then when this topped out, we came back towards the 20 for a correction. And then we came up again. And when we got a bit extended from the 20, we came back for it for correction. And then we put this new impulsive move in again up to 0.020, which was on the Friday before I left. And this is where I was saying, well, you know, we're in an uptrend on the 4-hour 20 EMA. This is a key level of support. So if we do pull back from this 0.02 high, I would say look for the 20 EMA on the 4-hour, which at the time was at 0.018. So that explains my theory of putting back to 0.018. And then I did say /7. And there's a valid reason for that as well. And that's because this 55 EMA, this red line here, has actually not seen a retest since the bullish cross on the 9th of July. So this is an EMA that still stands to this day as a potential to be turned into support if we do get a bit of a pullback, for example, and say come back deeper than this 0.017 low that we placed in on Saturday. So, you know, this potential to retrace to this EMA is still there, but that's only valid if Velo fails to break out of a key level of resistance. So just giving you my idea of how I got that 0.018/7 target as well is, again, going back to that 20 EMA, this yellow line we've been looking at, and also going from this local high back down to the previous local low, which was the last time Velo actually retraced back to its 20 EMA. So going from this local high on the 4-hour back down to the last local low, which was the previous sort of correction before that continuation, going back to this local low, 0.017 was the 0.50 on the retracement back to 0.01155, sorry. So the 0.50 and the 0.618 were areas that I would have expected to see relief in this uptrend. The trend is your friend until the end, and on the 4-hour, we are in an uptrend. So the 20 and 55 EMAs are our good friends in this uptrend. We like to see them continue to hold as support, and if we don't and we start losing them, simply get a fib on from the local high we're retracing from back down to the previous local low of the last miniature correction on the 4-hour. And this is how I managed to get that 0.018/17 target for support before getting the continuation. So that's just a quick breakdown of how I actually managed to get those support levels. You can see that it did come into fruition. We bounced off the 0.50 and ultimately 0.017. And right now we're back up, trying to get back above these 0.02 highs and ultimately this wick high at 0.0207. So what we ultimately need to see here after bouncing off of this 0.017 support is this local high taken out. Okay, so if we focus on this local high right here for a second, we need to take out this local wick high. And we're actually running into a key level of resistance at the moment, which is the 0.786. Okay, and this fib here is the last level we need to take out at 0.020. You could see that we wicked up to it on Sunday, and then today we're actually getting another push up to that sort of level. This is the last Fibonacci level that needs to be broken in order to push to this 1 fib. So if Velo can actually get the breakout here and start to come up and push through the 0.020 and push through this wick, I think that would give the game away to pushing to 0.021 and then ultimately the 0.022 target of that double bottom, because this is the ultimate target that I think Velo's trying to get to. You know, unless it's already topped out at this wick and we come up and we put in some sort of double top where we come up to this wick, and let's say we start pushing up here, but then we top out again at this point, okay, and we don't actually push onto that target. It's a good, you know, there's a chance that this could become some sort of double top. So this is why it's so important about firstly breaking 0.02 in order to get the continuation to these targets, okay? But if we do get that clean break and we do sweep this local high right here, okay, then these are my short-term targets, 0.021 to 0.022. At that point, we'll check on the afterburners and see what's going on. But again, that's what I'm sort of looking for here. If we can take out this local high, if not, we may put in some sort of double top. We'll have to look at the indicators at the time and see if they're getting a bit overheated, and then we potentially could come back to this 55 EMA wherever that is. So simple terminology here. When we're in an uptrend on the 4-hour, look for the 20 EMA as support. If that's lost, look for the 55. Okay, and if both of those eventually get lost, you then zoom out to the daily and do the same thing. We would look at on the daily time frame, for example, which I'm on now. We'd come back and look at the daily 20 EMA here. If we lose the 4-hour 20 and 55 EMA, simply zoom out a time frame, come to the daily and look at the 20 and 55 on there, because that's potentially where they're trying to get to. So at the moment, I think all looks relatively healthy, and zooming back out towards zooming back out to this actual this structure here, which we've broken out of, because if I take off these EMAs, we've broken out of our double bottom level of resistance. Okay, we had this 0.015 resistance that we needed to break out of. We broke out of it back here on sort of 14th of July and have since pushed on. Okay, so the double bottom breakout target that we're actually monitoring sort of here pushes us to that 0.022. Let me go to the candle closes. I do apologize. Coming up to the candle closes of this low. So we go from candle closes to the neckline of resistance. And you can see when you do sort of break out of this neckline, you have a target. And this does bring us up to 0.024 on the daily, in all fairness. But how I managed to get that 0.022 target is by going from the 0.008 low back to the 0.038 high. And you can see that the 0618 sits roughly at 0.022. So ultimately, this is where I think Velo is trying to get to here. I think it's trying to get to the 0618. If we do get a bit of overextension and push up to that sort of 0.024 area, fantastic. But I think at that point we'd be getting a bit overextended. So right now I do think that we're looking to continue to 0.022, but it's all about taking out the 0.02 local high. So many 0.0s and 22s and this and that. Just keep in mind, this wick right here is the local high we need to take out. Okay, and if this wick does get removed and taken out, then ultimately you're looking at the 0.6618. And if that gets taken out, you could be looking at the 0.786. But at the moment, things look relatively healthy. I do think down the line, it would be quite nice to see, especially if we can get the push up to 0.022. And then ultimately, if we can come back in for quite a deep correction back down to this neckline and then go for a massive break, I think that would be a fantastic play, because initially what we've got is we've broken out, met our double bottom target, we've flipped back to this yellow line to turn this previous resistance into support, and then getting the break. I think that would be the utmost healthy thing that Velo could do here. You know, failing that, if Velo just continues to climb and does get up to 0.038, let's say over the next few weeks, I think that we would then entail a larger correction coming back, which would scare the hell out of people. But nonetheless, what I'm trying to say is the more impulsive the break gets, the more impulsive the correction will be. Whereas if we, you know, slowly just sort of, look, we've come up here, we've come back for a higher low, we've broke out here, if we come back for another higher low and continue working our way up the stairs, you know, it's a lot more of a healthy uptrend. If you just go vertical up, you will come back down just as hard. I mean, take a look at what happened here. We did have this sort of macro correction, and then we put in this really large impulsive wave. And after that, we just came back down and ate most of it back up, coming back down to these lows. So really and truly, you want to gradually sort of work your way up the stairs, slowly but surely, coming back to key levels of support and continuing the trend. So right now, my honest thoughts are Velo needs to take out this wick high, but it's running into a level of resistance at 0.020. If it can take that out, we're looking for 0.022. And if we get that, we will have to analyze further. Well, that's it from me today, guys. A quick update on Velo. I hope you've enjoyed the content from Chart Nerd TA. Take care. Peace out.